Now we're live. Welcome,
Hi.
everybody, to the Total Health Live. This is our weekly broadcast. My name is Dr. Christopher Vogelmann of drvogelmann.com, not .communist.com. And with me, as always, is the lovely, the talented, the super knowledgeable, and ever so helpful nutritionist to the stars, Monika Klein.
Hi, Christopher.
Hi.
I see you had a little bit of an injury. You were moaning and groaning before.
I tripped up the stairs with both my food and my giant pitcher of water and whacked my knee, my hip, and my middle back. I am on ice.
You're on ice.
I will be thawed at some point later today. So,
well, you know, I've been working so hard on our launch, which we're in the midst of. We've released 2 videos already, and
I will put the links down below in several places, whether you're looking right now from the New Normal Diet, the Total Health Life group, or all of the other properties, Coaching for Health, the website, the Facebook page for coachingforhealth.com.
Yeah, so I've been working like at my desk, writing, recording all this stuff. And I was having some real bad hip pain, but it's gone. It just was very temporary. So I'm thankful about that. But my husband did go to the ER on Sunday night. And it's something that I was really, really afraid of because he went to the ER and was admitted this week. But last year, he went 11 times and was admitted 11 times, and he was in a facility for 4 months. And when COVID happened, I was just dreading him going into the hospital because I thought that would be it, you know. But I feel better now because I think the hospitals are prepared more than they were 3 months ago. And he was tested right away and tested COVID negative. They took him out of the COVID floor and put him into telemetry where they have, you know, units on him to measure all his vitals 24/7. So he is coming home today. He did have pneumonia and sepsis. So it's a good thing that we did send him. So he's been gone all week and he's coming home. And so that's good news. And I now, if he feels challenged in the future, I won't, you know, feel nervous about him going into the hospital where he can be taken care of very well by their team.
That's good to know. Glad to hear it. And I think that's one of the things that people are dealing with. We've spoken about this before, that people are afraid to go to the hospital sometimes because they're afraid of catching COVID-19 or something else. And when the program that we're in the midst of launching, the educational series, at least, that's one of the things that we're dealing with is not so much COVID-19, but the number of pounds that people pick up, which we have dubbed the COVID-15. Like a freshman 15.
Yeah. And, you know, I just want to touch on that a little bit more because that has been the issue. People have been afraid to go to the ER, and I'm not endorsing that you go if you've got a cold or a little cut or, you know, but if you can't breathe and you're coughing up blood, which my husband was coughing up blood. I mean,
those are important signs, I would say.
I mean, his breathing was okay. It was the coughing up blood and they not able to hold anything down, especially because he has so many comorbidities. Now, a
lot of people don't know these fancy terms like sepsis in terms of a generalized sort of blood
So
infection.
you want to explain
comorbidity? Comorbidity, just, you know,
comorbidity it's new in the vernacular, but people are becoming much more familiar with that term because it's been used a lot since this pandemic started. But comorbidities, it means that you have a lot of diseases going on at the same time.
There's a lot of crap happening.
Very high risk. And there's also a term called, well, it's not, is it comortality? But no, it's not. Comorbidities is really quite serious. And so if you have a lot of diseases and a lot of serious diseases, you need to pay attention and get that checked out as soon as possible.
Yeah. If there's more than one system in your body that is compromised, you are rendered more vulnerable to not just COVID-19 infections, but to any number of other things like bacterial pneumonia, for example.
And sepsis, which is basically, you want to explain it? Secondary.
It's a secondary infection, but sepsis, you know, typically, you know, they would be something that grows systemically through the entire body. Sepsis, like if you have a burst appendix, for example, that the risk is sepsis, that you get an infection all throughout the abdominal cavity and in the bloodstream. And so basically,
it's in the bloodstream.
Bad critters take over.
Yeah, so there are 3 stages of sepsis, and the final stage is septic shock, which can kill, definitely kill. And so took action right away. Called the pulmonologist on call, and he runs the ICU. So he said right away, go have him go to the ER. But it was interesting. We called 911, and there must have been about 12 or 14 people that showed up with the ambulance, the EMT.
That is a lot, because
it was a big team. It was a big team, and
that's impressive.
And they were very thorough, and and the funny thing too is we had a planned Edison outage from 12 till 6 a.m., midnight to 6 a.m. They basically took him 10 minutes before the lights went out. So, yeah, so I guess that was the best timing, but talk about a perfect storm. So we survived a week, and actually it's been a good week because he's getting better. And I've been so busy on this launch series, which we've released again, two videos already. And
yeah, the next one.
I couldn't have done it if he was here. I could have, but.
Yeah, but it's there's always a tiny bit of a silver lining to any situation. So it gives you, he's under good care, and it gives you time to concentrate on creating content. So
exactly, not so much time for my sleep, because this has been, when you embark on a project, it's always there's always layers, and there's more and more and more, and so much detail. And but I will celebrate a little bit once we get. Like I'd say 95% of it done. But you and I are working on it together, so we're excited for you to see it.
Sometimes it's a little bit like building in the spacesuit as your rocket is heading off the launch pad.
Sort of like the vaccine we were talking about that Russia was doing.
Yeah, the vaccine. We'll test it later.
As we're doing it
on live on everybody. Let's see what happens. So.
But yeah, it's a labor. Well, it's called the new Lifestyle Mastery 4-part series, video series, New Life Mastery. We played around with the name, and we've forgotten it so many times, but it is called the New Lifestyle Mastery.
Lifestyle, yeah. I was going to say the style disappeared in that last comment that you made.
Oh, did it? See, I don't know. It's just blending.
I would think that you were a woman of style. So.
Lifestyle, yes.
Substance.
I actually did a little video last week that I haven't posted yet about sleep environments. And I was sort of like doing a kind of Martha Stewart, come into my boudoir and my chamber, my bedroom chamber, and see the luxurious silk pillowcases, which are just a small fraction of luxury you can add to your sleeping comfort. And we talked about it being very, very serene, because you want to have a very calm environment to sleep. No computers, no phones shut off, all of that. And so anyway, I did it. I haven't posted it yet, but it was a little fun to do.
It sounds great. I mean, we do keep our phones close by, because with a 13-year-old with joint custody, we never know what's going to happen, and you have to keep those devices close by.
Well, I did when my husband was taken to the ER. Of course, I normally do shut it off. I don't want it on unless I'm using it to listen to something calming so I can fall asleep.
Yeah, we have our meditation tapes and things like that, and sometimes even some meditations and other guided things that we picked up off of YouTube or MP3 audios coming out of iTunes or iMusic now, or was it Apple Music? They keep changing the names on these. So.
Yeah, it's a good way to sort of shut out the noise too, because I'm sure so we have a pandemic, we have a heat wave, we have fires, and so like
what else you got?
No more, please.
What's next?
My husband in the hospital coming home, so that's a good thing.
Don't forget murder hornets. And
are they still around? Are they still happening?
locusts. Don't forget the locusts.
Are they? Oh yeah, I heard locusts, India, right?
There's several places in the world, so plenty
Yeah,
plenty of things to keep you busy.
I just don't know. That's why I'm living in my little cocoon this week with the air conditioning on, and Mitzi, my cat, and I are having a lovely time.
Are you having a girls sleepover?
Girls week. We're having a girls week.
Oh, catnip for everybody. So,
No, she doesn't like catnip. You know, not all cats like that. So she definitely likes her treats. I got a much more holistically, much more healthier types of treats for her from Emerson, one of my suppliers, and she didn't like them at first because she's so used to her others, and so, but they're actually therapeutic. So I was encouraging her, have some. So I'd mix them in with her other ones.
Okay, so having a pet can be very therapeutic.
Yes.
Well, the question is, we're talking about comorbidities. We're talking about factors that make people vulnerable to all kinds of bad critters, from viruses to bacteria to fungus. What are some of the conditions in the COVID world that make people a little more vulnerable?
Well, let me just finish this. Before I dive in, pet nutrition is really, really key. And a lot of people want to take care of their dogs, cats, or whatever other pets. So there are specific things. I talk about targeted nutrition in my video too, of the new lifestyle mastery video. I talk about targeted nutrition for you, and we're going to talk a little bit about it today too, but also for your pets. So it's important if they have cavities, if they've got something going on with their fur, anything, bad breath, all sorts of things. There's specifically targeted nutrition products for them as well. So you want to make sure, I'm sure most pet owners know that, but there used to be a really great garlic supplement that I used to give some of my cats, and I can't find it anymore. So if anyone knows about a good garlic supplement for cats, please let me know. So
you're asking the question of the wrong person here. So.
I know you're not a cat person, and you can't be because you're allergic.
I am so highly sensitive to cats. But I mean, if you had a Siamese, or you had like a Russian blue, or maybe a snowshoe variety where there's less fur,
which is what you had before, right?
Long ago. I don't even want to go down that road.
So anyway, COVID news. So what's going on? Of course, comorbidities, more vulnerable. They're, of course, high blood pressure, those with high blood pressure, diabetes, lung conditions, overweight. This is what we've known all along, right? It's not anything new. But
I think also these are also conditions that are found quite frequently in certain populations, among African Americans, among those of Hispanic descent, and others. So people sometimes confuse some sort of a DNA or genetic component with those populations who tend to suffer from these conditions, often due to a lack of knowledge and bad lifestyle habits.
Well, my husband, it all started with diabetes for him. And diabetes is a very, very debilitating disease. It affects your kidneys, it affects your eyes, it affects your circulation, it affects every organ system. So it's really, and it is a lifestyle disease. It's by far a lifestyle disease, meaning it can be altered or changed or turned around with lifestyle strategies.
Significantly so too. I use the example of my father-in-law, who was type 2 diabetic and was taking, the first meeting I ever had with him, I shot him with insulin. So I was like, pleased to meet you. Give me a shot. And but that actually, he just changed his diet completely and became not a vegetarian or so, because he may eat a little chicken every other day, but most of his intake is vegetables. And so he would do, he's like fawning over a head of broccoli, for example, which is it's your atypical Mexican American diet to be going for that type of thing. And he's gotten off of insulin, off of almost all of his drugs, has one hypertension, one blood pressure medication, really, at this point. And I think that it was such a dramatic shift to see him go to mostly a plant-based diet and to just become, his blood work is that of somebody who's in their 20s now, even though he's much far older than that. So.
Yeah, my husband was diagnosed long before I met him with as a diabetic. He was diagnosed as diabetic, and he was put on, I don't know, metformin or something for 6 months.
Metformin was one of the biggies.
He didn't want it, so he went off it and changed, just as your father-in-law did, changed to primarily plant-based diet, started exercising, lost 100 pounds, actually.
That's extraordinary.
Was pretty heavy when he was diagnosed. He was working in the television and film industry, and it's late hours. They've got these big spreads, and they're constantly eating all day long.
Donuts, candy bars, grab what you can.
Yeah, all of that stuff in the craft services. So he gained the weight, and then he changed his whole life around. And when I met him like 15 years later or so, he had his diabetes under control, although he was not getting tested blood work regularly. But and then what sort of like prompted, or what sort of exacerbated again was stress. Stress exacerbated it. And he lost both of his parents pretty quickly in a very short span of time. And so that, and culminating with a lot of other things going on in his life at that point, his blood sugar was starting to, I think his A1C, the highest I saw his A1C, it wasn't that high, but it was like 10 or 12, which I've heard much higher numbers. Now, your A1C is really a great indicator of blood sugar, more so than glucose. It gives you a kind of a range, what's been going on in the last 3 months, versus blood sugar, your glucose just is really that day. So anyway, and then kidney failure, eye injuries, retinopathy, which is eye complications. Yeah, it's not a good disease to have. And you can turn it around. Case in point, your father-in-law, my husband did. So stress management's included as a powerful, powerful lifestyle intervention.
Well, and if you manage your stress correctly, you're not going to eat a lot of emotionally soothing foods that may not be good fuel for your body. So.
I think it's tough. I think stress management is tough. And it requires attention, and a lot of attention goes to these distractions, these constant distractions in our life, constantly, consistent, distractions. Yeah. So it's a tough one. But it can be brought, it's an ongoing thing. Sometimes a stress management technique may work for a while, and then you have to look at another thing. It all depends. Where, our lives are kind of like roller coasters, especially now. Don't you agree?
Yeah, but at the same time, I will say that the one thing that holds true over and over and over again, that when it comes to distractions, it is the level that we can fine tune our focus to keep our eyes on the prize. If the prize is good health, if the prize is weight loss, if the prize is just being happy, thinking good thoughts, and acting in a way that's constructive for ourselves as well as all the others around us, if we indulge, if you will, in a degree of self-care, it's not selfish, it's making ourselves available to help other people.
Well, again, if you're not strong and you're not healthy, you're being a disservice to yourself and everyone in your life. And I think there is a sort of, in some ways, fatalistic / maybe genetic factor. I mean, when I look at genetics, and I've done a lot of genetic testing with clients in the past, I mean, there's some that just are not blessed with good genetics. And so they have to work extra hard. I mean, we're not talking about stress management right now. We're talking about genetics at this point. So, they have to work extra hard dietarily, exercise, stress management, all of the elements of good health. If you have good genes, it's not a guarantee either that you're going to be okay.
Well, I
So,
mean, yeah, because you could have good genes and get into an accident where you lose the use of both of your legs.
well, it's not even
Trauma.
accident. It's like lifestyle change, lifestyle management. I have had people with like really blessed with great genes, and they're still suffering with some disease process because, again, it's only 50-50. Your genetics are only 50% of the equation. Your lifestyle is the other 50%. So you could be blessed with great genes, but if you're abusing yourself, eating the wrong things or doing the wrong things for your body, you're going to lose out.
I was referring back to the idea of losing the loss of your legs, because if you make bad health choices, for example, driving while drunk, that would obviously create a conflict between your good DNA and the expression of that DNA. So, but that maybe
Yeah.
that's an extreme. But I've had quite a few patients who have been in accidents who were blessed with good genetics, but because of trauma and the improper care for that trauma, they've had gangrene and a number of other things like
Yeah.
that. So those are the extremes. I mean,
Terrible.
one of my most dramatic patients was one whose mom had taken thalidomide back in the 1960s while pregnant for nausea, and unfortunately, this woman was born with no arms. And
Yeah.
and that's the type of thing where, in many ways, her genetics were great, except that the environment of the thalidomide had actually caused the arm buds to fail to mature into actual functioning arms. And that was quite something, because she did everything with her feet, including driving and opening up the doors, with her keys and things like that, but without arms. And that's just,
Yeah.
I think that was one of the most dramatic examples of a human being's ability to adapt to the lack of working limbs. I mean, just
Yeah.
phenomenal. So.
I went to school with someone, and she also was a thalidomide victim, but I had no idea she was. And because she had a deformed hand, not, she had her arms, but
I've
so,
seen, yeah, I've had other patients with hands that were just, like
yeah.
not even fingers, just
The
stuff.
incredible thing, she was an incredible clothing designer. She was incredible, so artistic, so talented. And, she still could do, all the designing and the drawing and the cutting and the creating, even though she had I don't know if it was an inability, but certainly a little bit of a handicap, I'd say. But yeah, I mean, but she also, didn't put it on display. I mean, it's much more difficult when you don't have any arms to not notice that. But horrible, horrible thalidomide, scenario, I guess. That was just horrible for people.
Well,
And
even though our friends at DuPont may say better living through chemistry, sometimes pharmacological items are not tested properly, like we were talking about a little bit earlier. Bring it back around to the Russian COVID virus, the coronavirus vaccine, and testing it on people before you know it's safe. So.
yeah, and again, these two individuals that you and I are discussing, I mean, they have, they've made their life work, and it's a blessing, and they are miracles. So,
Well, and human beings, like any other organism, one of the signs of intelligence of an organism is the ability to adapt. And so adapting to restrictions in a very healthful, constructive way is something that we find ourselves and our entire society doing right now. Can we adapt to wearing a mask? Can we adapt to staying home? Can we adapt to not going to a beer party in the alley, which is something we've experienced around here lately? And so, but it takes a degree of self-discipline. It takes an ability to control the emotions. And as I said before, keep your eyes on the prize. Stay focused on producing health, even more so than avoiding disease. Stay focused.
Yeah, it's sort of an acceptance and maybe even a surrender to your situation. I mean, there's so many things you can do, but there's so many things that you're restricted to do, especially now. And one of the purposes of the video series that we just are in the midst of releasing right now is looking at the things that you can control in your life. You can control your health. You can control your diet. These are things that they're in your hands. They're in your control. all these outside interferences, there will always be something on the outside that takes you out of your game, so to speak.
And I think it's a question of, moving away from feeling like you're a victim into being victorious, because you do have a lot more control than you realize.
Yeah, yeah. And so all these diseases that we talked about are these conditions, definitely oftentimes when there is a diabetes, it's in conjunction with high blood pressure. So, and then the diabetes, becomes even more serious. And then you start having lung, I mean, it's sort of compounded, not necessarily, a person who has a lung condition will have diabetes, vice versa. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that oftentimes when there's one serious illness, others start manifesting.
Yeah, it's a cascade, just like you'll see chemical cascades in the body when you mess around with one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it is somewhat, there are things you can do about it. So I was going to talk about a little bit about like blood pressure lowering strategies. We talked about a little bit about reducing stress. Supplements are great. Supplements are good for reducing stress. Let me just.
Well, for example, I know that we've found certain amino acids to be very helpful in terms of reducing stress, improving energy, taurine, L-methionine, and other things, where you can actually support different organ systems in your body, which changes the severity of stressful symptoms that you have, and maybe you can adapt a little bit better to things. I know that when it comes to supplements, a lot of times people will tout garlic as being something that's good for lowering high blood pressure. I know that there's a lot of evidence that chiropractic adjustments actually are very helpful in lowering blood pressure by anywhere from about, I think it's around 10 to 15 points, both systolic and diastolic.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, definitely. And certainly some lifestyle strategies like meditation and deep breathing exercises. But there's also ashwagandha, which is an Ayurvedic herb, which is called an adaptogenic, meaning that how your body's feeling at the time, it will adapt, it will enhance and improve your health. So ashwagandha is good for lowering blood pressure. It's actually an overall kind of good health maintainer kind of supplement. Magnesium is also good. Bacopa, which is holy basil, Siberian ginseng, specifically for blood pressure, hawthorn, magnesium, and potassium. Those are all good for lowering, and garlic, as you mentioned.
Yeah. And the form of the magnesium makes a big difference, because I used to have patients that all the time take magnesium oxide, for example, or calcium carbonate. And, when you can join a metal like magnesium with an amino acid like glycine, for example, these so-called chelated or chelated minerals, those forms are the best, because your cell membranes just suck them right in. They recognize the amino acid. They can't wait. But if you've got something like a magnesium oxide as your supplement, you're lucky if you can get about 20% of that absorbed. So,
it is important, the type of magnesium. And also magnesium helps with stress management too. It relaxes your muscles. It relaxes you completely.
It's good for your heart.
Good for your heart.
Good for your heart. It's wicked. It's a wicked awesome.
Wicked hot, wicked good, wicked good. Supplements for diabetes, gymnema, which is also another Ayurvedic herb, alpha lipoic acid, chromium, and cinnamon. Now, don't go out and get yourself cinnamon buns. Just use cinnamon in your cooking, or you can also get it supplementally as well.
My buns are not cinnamon, just to let you know. My buns are not cinnamon, just to let you know.
TMI.
But cinnamon is very good, because I see it in a lot of cinnamon teas are often used in Mexico to help with blood sugar.
Cinnamon is in a lot, like chocolate too, in Mexican chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so which I find really interesting. And Mexican chocolate has far less sugar in it than the American version. Mm-hmm. And so when you think that there's less sugar and cinnamon, it actually it doesn't give you as much of a sugar high. Actually, it's very interesting.
Yeah. So I used to put cinnamon in my coffee, and I used to love that. I just, there's something warming and soothing about that. My husband didn't like it though. So I stopped doing that, but maybe
just stick a stick of cinnamon in your coffee and leave his alone.
I would put cinnamon powder.
It can be a stirrer.
Yeah, I have a French press that I use, and I'd put it in there and then I'd stir it up. But now that he's coming back, well, actually, he's not even drinking coffee. One of his aides makes him espresso. So he has a little shot of espresso, 3 times a week when this particular aide is here. So I can do it. I think I might.
Yes, we can. Just get the stick.
Put the cinnamon in my French press.
Or get the
No,
your stir stick.
I stir up my French press before I press it, just to mix up the grounds. Now back to supplements. Lung conditions. Andrographis is a very good herb for lung conditions and protecting the lung. It's immune enhancing. And quercetin, our favorite, which is found in red onions, which we can't get right now. I'm not sure what
we are eating, which we still continue to eat and have had no problems with. I guess our source must be really good.
Interesting. Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, I actually did get some red onions last week, and I have not been having any problems. And I've also added green onions and some cilantro all to my lovely salad, which I adore. And then ginger breaks up the mucus. Ginger is really helpful. Usually, more throat and nasal, but it also is good for so many things. Ginger is amazing.
Well, one of my favorites was always, Metagenics put this thing together, the pneumocarotene, because it was a broad spectrum of beta carotene. It was not just beta carotene, but the entire carotene family, la familia de carotene. So, and that was one that was really helpful for a lot of my patients with lung issues, especially chronic lung issues. So,
very good. So that's good. And what about weight? Well, dietary, exercise, and stress management, which we've just been talking about.
And don't wait about your weight.
Don't wait about your weight, because again, this is something that you can conquer. You can absolutely conquer. So that's all we have today. I'm not sure if we're on time. I guess we're just right on time right now.
Yeah, we're trying to shorten these things so that we're not going on to past an hour.
Yeah. And also, we are going to do some special, there's my hair. We're also going to do some special Facebook Lives next week to really talk and answer any questions that you have about health, weight, how to change it, how to make your health better. We're going to talk about that specifically as it relates to our launch and the new program that we're announcing next week.
Don't announce it yet. I want some.
I'm so excited.
I want some suspense here.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and I hope you will. I know you'll be excited too when you hear what we've got in store. It's just quite. I'm excited. I can't tell you.
I will be throwing in the most recent links under this video. So those of you who have the slightest amount of curiosity about the educational program series, the 4-part series that's going on, will be able to click that link, and it will take you to the special page where those videos are currently hosted. So
yeah, so this is something that I want to share with you, and we want to share with you, and hopefully it'll enhance your life and make your health better.
There's some golden nuggets in there, and remember, Barney said that caring is sharing, and if you like what you see there, be sure to share it with your friends, your family members, and others, so that we can spread the good word, as they say. So
and Gandhi said.
Oh. He said, I need a burger. No, it's like, he didn't say.
Gandhi said, your health is your wealth, not gold or silver, but your health. So make your health, take healthy steps this week, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. We are out of here for now. We'll be back again several times during the week, and we will also be returning at 1 o'clock Pacific next week, 4 o'clock Eastern, and everywhere else in between, including those 10 a.m. people in Hawaii who do occasionally tune in, which is kind of funny. All right. See you next time.
All right. See you. Bye-bye.